Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Professor Dr. Ayaz Muhammad Rana, Department of Political Science and Public Administration, Bahauddin Zakaria University, Multan. My dear students, welcome back to the class after a long time. So, as you know, before midterm examinations, we were discussing the constitutional development in Pakistan. In previous lectures, the Interim Constitution, the Constitution of 1956, and the Constitution of 1962 were discussed in detail. In this term, we will discuss the Constitution of 1973. Today, we will discuss three aspects of the Constitution of 1973, the historical background, and major characteristics of the Constitution of 1973. Before discussing the historical background, I would like to recall the definition and meaning which were already discussed in detail in the class. So the Constitution is a set of laws which determines the sovereignty, structure, form of the government, people-state relations, composition, functions, and limits of the vital institutions of the state and government. It is also called the supreme law of the state. So as far as background of the Constitution is concerned, so the foundation of the modern Constitution was laid down by the British government when the British Parliament passed the Act of 1858. According to this Act, the government of India was transferred or shifted from company to crown, and this was the first proper act which was passed by the British Parliament. Secondly, they passed Council Act 1861. Then 1883 Act was passed. In follow-up of that, 1893 Act was passed. In continuation of this, Minto-Morley reforms, the Act of 1909 was passed by the British Parliament. In this Act, the local government, elections, and voters, you can say the electoral college of the election was, you can say the qualified voters were allowed to vote, included in the voter list. So the second decade of the 20th century is very important. In this decade is rather considered when the Hindu-Muslim unity was at the peak. During this, the constitutional reforms which were demanded by the Indians were very important. At one side, they were demanding dominion status for the India, on the other hand, Muslims and other communities were demanding constitutional guarantees and constitutional securities for their communities. So, in 1919, Montego-Chelmsford reforms were passed by the British government, and this act was called 1919 Act. After this, Nehru report reflected the wishes of the Hindus, because at that time Congress was the sole representative of the Hindus, while Quaid-e-Azam presented constitutional demands through his popularly known 14 points. So Cripps Mission and other so many demands were presented to the British government by the Indians, Muslim Leagues, Congress and others. As a result of that, British passed the Act of 1935. The British Parliament passed the Act of 1935. So we discussed the background or constitutional background or constitutional history of Pakistan, particularly during the British period. In 1947, Pakistan emerged on the map of the world, and the first Constituent Assembly adopted the Act 1935 with necessary changes. This is called the Interim Constitution. Some are used to say the Provisional Constitution. However, this constitutional document worked up to 1956. The first proper document of the Constitution was passed in 1949, March 1949, by the first Constituent Assembly, which was headed by Nawab Liaquat Ali Khan. In this document, aims and objectives of the future Constitution were defined. So, after a long time, after the span of 9 years' time, the Parliament passed the Constitution of 1956. The first and second Constituent Assembly, after deliberation, successfully formulated, and proclaimed the Constitution of 1956 in March 1956. This Constitution was called Constitution of 1956. The major characteristics of this Constitution were sovereignty vested in God, federal structure, parliamentary system, representation on party based. Governor General was replaced by the President, and the first President was Sikandar Mirza, was inducted as the first President of Pakistan. So this Constitution was abrogated in 1958, in October 1958, by Mr. Muhammad Ayub Khan. Muhammad Ayub Khan formulated and promulgated a new constitution, which is called the Constitution of 1962. This constitution was formulated by a commission which was constituted by Mr. Muhammad Ayub Khan, and after formulation, this was passed and promulgated by the Governors and Ministers Conference in 1962. So the characteristics of this constitution can be examined by this small sentence, the Constitution of the Constitution of 1962 was the Constitution of the President, by the President, and for the President. This Constitution was widely criticized by the political leaders, intellectuals, and civil society of Pakistan. This Constitution was abrogated by Yahya Khan, the then Chief Martial Law Administrator, and Yahya Khan promised to the people of Pakistan that he will hold fair, free, and impartial election very soon, and that assembly will constitute a new constitution for the Pakistan. So, in result of these elections, so Mujibur Rahman, leader of the Awami League, Awami League bagged majority seats in East Pakistan, while PPP, headed by Pakistan People's Party, headed by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, scored majority of seats in West Pakistan. So, the rulers of Pakistan could not transfer the power to the elected representatives. On the other hand, due to the Indian intervention, Pakistan was dismembered, and 17 December 1971 was the black day in the history of Pakistan. So on this date, so Dhaka fell and Pakistan was dismembered. So the power was transferred of the West Pakistan, which was remaining Pakistan, to Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto as civil martial law administrator, because he was leader of the majority party, or leader of the majority party in the legislature of the remaining Pakistan. So the members of the West Pakistan, the new assembly was comprised by the elected members of the West Pakistan. So although there was majority of the People's Party in this assembly, however, at the same time, other parties were also present in the assembly: Jamaat Islami, Jamaat Islami, Muslim League, Jamiat Ulama Islam, Jamiat Ulama Pakistan, and Wali Khan, and other heavyweight leaders were present in the National Assembly. So this legislature passed the 1973 Constitution with consensus. So this Constitution was promulgated and proclaimed on 14th August 1973. This was comprised by the preamble, which was objectives resolution, 12 parts, 280 articles, and 6 schedules. In 1985, the objectives resolution was made part of the Constitution under 8th Amendment. The Constitution of 1973 was amended, suspended, and changed by military and civil rulers according to their requirements. 8th Amendment, 17th Amendment, and 18th Amendment introduced in the Constitution are very significant changes. It is still under a constant horror of war. Judiciary maintained extra-constitutional action under law of necessity. This is the background of the Constitution of 1973. So major characters of the Constitution of 1973. First, This was the written constitution comprised by 12 parts, 280 articles and 6 schedules. So the amendment was very difficult in the constitution. However, this was managed by the rulers time to time. The second important characteristics of the constitution is sovereignty. In the constitution of the 1973, it is included in clear, cogent, and concise terms that sovereignty is vested in God, and this will be exercised by the people of Pakistan through their elected representative. This declares it a theodemocratic state because the sovereignty is vested in God, but no one can claim that he has some special relations with the God. This will be exercised by the elected representatives of people of Pakistan. So this is very important aspect of the constitution. This reflects the ideology of Pakistan. This reflects the two-nation theory. This is a binding force and makes the Pakistani people a nation. This was religious need of the people, and this reflects the wishes and desires of the people of Pakistan. The second important aspect of the constitution is its federal structure. So the legislature adopted the federation as a structure of the state. Article 1, which declares that Pakistan is the Islamic Federation and Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Article 41 to 50 rather decides about the various lists of the center and the provinces. So they also maintain the balance between the federating units and the federation. So this provides mechanism for the smooth running of the federation and to ensure balance between the federation and federating units. The third important aspect of the constitution is Islamic provisions. So the Islamic provisions were included in the constitution to make the constitution or to ensure the legislation process must be according to the law, according to the Islamic provisions. So we will discuss in detail in the future as a separate chapter this aspect of the state. In the same way, we will discuss the federation or federal structure of the state in a separate chapter or separate lecture of the state. The next important aspect of this constitution is the basic human rights. Part 2, chapter 1 of the article declares the basic rights of the people. Article 8 to 28. Article 8 to 28 reads about the basic rights of the people. Pakistan is a constitutional state and Constitution of Pakistan. The basic rights of the people are included in the Constitution of Pakistan, and these are guaranteed by the judiciary, independent judiciary of the Pakistan. The next important aspect of the constitution is independent judiciary. The powers, jurisdiction, and terms and conditions are prescribed from Article 175 to 12B. In this, the judiciary is given maximum powers. Judiciary is a guarantor of basic rights. Judiciary maintains the balance between federating units and federation, judiciary provides mechanism. Judiciary, if there is some disputes between federation and federating units, so judiciary is there to resolve that. Judiciary is there to resolve that. The powers, jurisdiction, terms and conditions of the judiciary are prescribed from Article 175 to 212b. The all kind of guarantees are provided to the judges. Their salary and other things are also service guarantee, which are required for the independent judiciary are provided in the Constitution of 1973. Thank you very much. If there is any question, you can ask this. Next, very important aspect of this the Constitution is that is parliamentary form of government. Majlis-e-Shura, Parliament, comprised by two houses, the Senate, National Assembly, Cabinet, Prime Minister and the President. Article 3, Article 44 to 49 and Article 50 to 100 reads the detailed powers, function and procedure of Parliament and President. And this also discuss the relations between the Parliament and the President. The Article 58 2b determines the relations between President and the Parliament. So the changes in this article sometime balance goes in favor of the President and sometime goes in the favor of the Parliament. However, these powers are well defined in the Constitution of Pakistan. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you can ask. So ask and you can send the question through the WhatsApp as well. Thank you very much.